Once you're done practicing, or once you've tried enough times practicing in the mirror and you're ready to try a real audience, gather your family members, friends, or even set up your stuffed animals in your bedroom and practice delivering the speech in front of an audience. You're gonna feel nervous, it's gonna feel weird and corny, but the practice is gonna make you more confident for your actual speech. While you practice in front of that audience, you're going to need to practice making eye contact with different members of the audience. You don't want to focus on one person, and by all means, you don't want to you don't want to look in other parts of the room that are not in the audience. You don't want to look at the floor, you don't want to look up in the corner or out the window. Those are all really bad options, and I've had students do all of those in the past. You also, as I mentioned before, don't want to turn your back on the audience and talk to the board. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a couple of strategies for eye contact. And first of all, your strategy for eye contact, people's expressions take place between their eyebrows and their lips. That's where somebody's facial expression is. So if you look out at somebody in the audience and you look at their facial expression, you're going to see that. If you're looking between the eyebrows and lips, you're going to see whether they're puzzled, whether they're happy, whether they're bored. You're going to see that. For me, I rely on that as a teacher to see how I'm doing. But as a beginning speaker, that might be a little intimidating. You look out, somebody's got a weird facial expression, it could throw you off your whole speech. So I recommend a little trick here for public speaking. Instead of using that area to look at for your eye contact. Instead, pick a spot right around the hairline, just a couple of inches above the eyebrows, and focus up there, and it takes your attention. And in fact, if you do it with this picture right here, you can look in that little green box and you realize you can't really see the expression on this person's face in my little slide here. So that's a really good idea. As you're looking around the room and you're making your eye contact, it sure looks like you're looking at the audience members, but in reality, you're looking just a little bit above where they make their expression so that you don't get distracted by anything that they might be thinking. So that's the first strategy for eye contact. My next strategy for eye contact involves what I call the capital N, capital Z method. And it's a method of purposely or purposefully going through the audience and making sure that you're making eye contact with people in all parts of the audience. It's a way of making the entire audience feel included. So if you picture yourself standing in front of this lecture hall, or even in front of my classroom when all the desks are set up in the lecture hall format, if you start at the front left corner and you drift your eyes slowly back across the members of the audience, again, not making contact with actual eyes, but a little bit above that, and you start to head from all the way down the back row, or down the left row from front to back. Then once you get there, you'll come forward on a diagonal and then down from the front to the back of the right side. And if you look at that, that looks like a capital N just laid down across the classroom. And so that's going to, look at the areas of the audience that you've hit. You've hit the entire left side of the audience, the entire right side of the audience, and you've gone on a diagonal through the audience from back left to front right. So you've picked up a huge chunk of the audience there, but there are small parts of the audience that are missing. And we fix that with our capital Z. As we go across the back row and then diagonal from back right to front, left, and then across the front, you have filled in all the gaps that were left by your capital N. So I highly recommend that you use the capital N, capital Z method. It's not going to be fast. It's just going to be a slow drift across the room, and it might take you 3 or 4 seconds to slowly drift down one side, and another 4 or 5 seconds to drift diagonal up to the front right. So just keep that in mind, and the more you're practiced and the more comfortable you are with the content of your speech and you're not worried about that, you can start to focus on other things, and those other things can be really making good eye contact. This makes the difference between a really good speech and a speech that merely meets the standards.